Folks, it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker. Ohio has been a leader in reporting and measuring progress. And those of us that had a chance to listen to Rob, in Syracuse, got pretty excited about some of the new Ohio reporting and measuring progress with Beehive. So let me do an audio check, and then I'm going to switch the entire presentation system over to Rob here in just a bit. So Rob, do an audio check first before I switch this over to you.
Good morning, Ray. Can you hear me?
We're hearing you just fine, Rob. And are you set on your end to display a Beehive, the Ohio reporting and measuring progress? Okay. Coming to you then, Rob. All right. There you go.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Today I was going to talk about our statewide SWCD reporting system, which is commonly called Beehive. This is a new program for us that we actually launched and have all of our local soil and water conservation districts using starting back in October of 2018. So it's still new. We're still working to get some of the bugs out of the system, but overall, what we're hearing from our local conservation districts and those that are using it, it's beneficial. I'm sure many of you have your own reporting systems for local soil and water conservation districts. Here in Ohio, we actually started back in 2006 with our first online reporting system, if you will. We refer to it as SWIMS, was the name, Soil and Water Information Management System. And this was a statewide reporting system that all of our conservation districts use that really just to track the work they do, whether it be technical, whether it be educational type programming events, etc., or even administrative work that would be done in the office. So we utilized the SWIMS program, obviously up until last year, and then we made the switch in October to Beehive. Our old system, quite honestly, it was just out-of-date software that kind of led us to this change and looking for a new system. And so we were getting to the point we were really challenged with keeping the old system running. So we actually started back in 2016 looking at what other options we had out there, and I know we reached out to some different states to see what other state conservation agencies were using, and we settled on Beehive Industries. And a couple benefits to Beehive Industries. For one, they're located in Lincoln, Nebraska, and their primary work is working with local governments, municipalities on tracking infrastructure. So, their typical customer may be a municipality, and they want to be able to track maybe their stormwater utilities. They want to track their water lines, those sorts of things, snow plow remove or snow plow schedules, various things. Their system is kind of built to do that. So you can probably see, with the work that a local conservation district does, it was probably an easier leap for them, perhaps, to be able to build something to meet the needs of the conservation district. So we started working with them in 2016 and had several meetings, brought in our conservation districts and kind of shared the needs of what they need and what was needed as far as reporting, and obviously looked at our old SWIMS program as well too. So they really got to work probably in mid-2017 on the actually building the program and the software, and that was obviously quite a journey to get to the point to where we are today with running the program itself. I want to mention one of the benefits with Beehive, and one of the primary reasons why we went with them is with our old system being outdated, there wasn't a platform to keep it really current. So when Internet Explorer or Microsoft made an update, we just had a lot of challenges internally with keeping it running, and frustration among the soil and water district. So Beehive is built to keep current and up to date with the most modern, latest software, and that was really a plus for us. The other thing is just the overall performance. Beehive Industries has really prided themselves on the customer experience and being able to to have a efficient software that the user can use with minimal delays. So that was another thing. Our old program, especially looking at some of the GIS capabilities, was really slow. So with this program, just the way it's built, it allows the user to map projects fairly quickly. It allows to be able to query data in an efficient manner, and so it was a pretty easier sell for us once we actually saw the program and what they were doing. So probably the best way to really just show you what Beehive is about is to go into the program. So the screen that you see here in front of you is actually the login screen to the Beehive program. So I'm going to log in today just as a user into a conservation district, and we'll actually look at one of our local conservation districts' data just to kind of give you a feel for what the program is about. So this is the first screen that you see when you log into Beehive. I will note there that you'll see our Department of Agriculture logo and Martin Joyce. You might want to jot his phone number down there or contact information and email. Martin is actually the person that has led this effort in transferring to Beehive, and he's works on it on a daily basis. So really, if you have very specific questions on some of the programs, he's certainly a better resource than myself on this. But so really the first screen here, as we see it, it's very simple in how it's designed. You have this panel on the left side here that actually has 4 different categories to work from. So you have this asset button here that essentially is just the primary search screen. So you can search, you can enter in a search, and you can bring up the information into from a conservation district. The next screen is actually a timesheet screen. So one of the things that's provided through this program, and we have provided for since even within SWIM, is a timesheet. We have a standard timesheet that all conservation districts use across the state. So they enter their time into Beehive, and then there's also some administrative components, so our district managers can approve leave and can track time accordingly, approve leave request, etc. It also has a query feature, so all the data that is within the program can actually be queried, and those reports or those queries can then be exported into a PDF, can be exported into Microsoft Excel. Variety of programs there that you can use to further refine queries and reporting. So we can do some really neat stuff here. So I want to just show you, just kind of give you an example here. I'll bring up a project that this local conservation district does. So as you see, I just did a simple search. This is actually the beginning of a person's last name, and one of their cooperators, Jeff Boyke, shows up as a contact, and then you see all of the different things that Jeff Boyke has done with the Highland Soil and Water Conservation District. So I'm just going to select one of these projects here that are listed. We actually have back up here, so we have it kind of broken down into very simplistic categories. We have technical projects, we have educational projects, and pollution complaints. So all the work that a conservation district does essentially falls into one of those three categories. So we'll just open up this project here, and I don't want to leave the webinar. Need to move. So as you see here, once we open up the project, it gives a name of the project. It tells what type of project that it has. It has a whether the status of it, whether the project is closed, whether it's still an open project, whether it's canceled. So you've got some options there. The type of project, whether it can be, there's a variety of categories that can be chosen, but this is a grassed waterway, I believe we're looking at. So it's a cropland type project. The program that it's enrolled in. So here again, there's a number of choices that that a conservation district can choose there for the overall program type. They can enter a starting date for the project as well. And this is a feature that we're excited about, but we haven't implemented yet. But we have a goal section that we feel that we can utilize this to tie into a conservation district's annual plan of work that they do. So if they have certain objectives that they want to do, let's say one of them would be, you see conservation education popped up here, but let's say if they had a goal of grassed waterways, of so many grassed waterways, they could create a goal for grassed waterways, and then they could track their progress and tie each project back to that individual goal. So as you can see here, there's some opportunities here for districts to tie a lot of the work they do. Hopefully it makes it a more efficient way for them to be able to to provide reporting, and ultimately we want them to use this information locally to better plan their work and to track the progress that they do. So I just want to show you, this is actually, again, in this same project here, it was a grassed waterway that was installed in 2016. And this is the sheet that, or this is the, I guess it's the sheet that, for lack of a better word here, that comes up that's for the individual practice. So it's a grassed waterway. You can see the install date. You can see the BMP type, which you can choose. Again, you can choose a number of different BMP types. Pretty much anything within the NRCS practice code list would be included in that BMP name there to choose from. So we do have the actual feet, and then you can see here to the right, we actually have the exact location that has been mapped in the GIS. So because I'm running live and I don't want to screw up Highland Soil and Water Conservation District's work here that they did, we'll just zoom in a little bit, and you can actually see this is just a line that's been plotted that shows the physical location of that grass waterway. Very easy to do that. Actually, if this were a new project, you use this drawing tools button, depending on the type of practice you're using. If you were if you were doing something on a whole field scale, it would show up as a polygon where you could map the field where the practice is located. So in addition, once you map it, you get this information here as far as the location in the township. It also provides what Senate district, what House district, and then the watershed hydrologic unit codes at the 8-digit, the 10-digit, and the 12-digit scale. So, this makes it really nice for a conservation district if they get asked the question from one of their state senators or representatives, how much work have you done, or how many specific practices have you done? We could, Highland Soil and Water District in this example could easily run a report showing the number of and the feet of actual grassed waterways, for example, that were installed within the particular Senate district or the House district. So, pretty cool that we're able to do that. The program also allows, as you see that we're now into this project here, it allows you to attach documents. So in this particular screen here, we could just click on this new attachment button, and it would allow us to attach any type of document. If it were a Word document, if you wanted to put conservation assistance notes in there, if you wanted to attach photos, it's pretty much unlimited on what you're able to put in there. So, the nice feature about that I see is that as our conservation districts are using it, it allows for multiple employees and staff to be able to access particular information rather than it being segregated on one person's machine. If it's in here, if the conservation district uses this and they attach all their correspondence, photos, other things related to that project, it's a real easy place for them to file all that information. So we have a few indicators as well too, and we're still working on this. But here you can look at, for this particular practice, if we wanted to report on anything that and here again, this is somewhat limited, but if we wanted to report on the tons of sediment reduced by installing this grass waterway, we certainly could. And then, what the unit is there, et cetera. Also have contacts. So here, if you have multiple people that's involved with this project, so if we wanted to, in Jeff Boyke's case, if he was the landowner and if he had a farm operator that was actually managing the property, we could easily go into the database and add this person as a contact onto this particular project. So I'll jump away from that because I know my time's short here. Again, we have a timekeeping component that's allows for conservation district employees to report their time. So they're essentially reporting their time towards one of these 4 categories here, either administrative, education, pollution complaints, or technical projects. So if we did a technical project, and let's just search one here, whoops. So you can see if you just type in the first few letters of the name of a particular project, you can select that project, and then you can just report the number of hours that you charge towards that particular project. So again, it's pretty simple, just different days of the week. You see the orange, the orange date is today's date, obviously, but you can cancel. Okay, but you can switch days pretty easily just by clicking on this top line over here, and you can obviously go back as well too into different pay periods and look at past data. So the query capability, it is really nice as well too. So here we can look at, let's just look at education events. So if I were to look at the farmer and landowner programs that the Highland Soil and Water Conservation District has completed. So this list all of the farmer landowner programs that Highland Soil and Water Conservation District has done by category going back, it appears like back to at least 2011. So once we have this, it's then pretty easy to either export this information, or we can start by searching. Searching. So if we just want to look at all the Clear Creek RCPP landowner, farmer landowner programs, we can narrow that list down pretty quickly to those 3 items there of what they've done, and then it gives a little bit of a description, what the activity was. Most of these were probably landowner meetings, and you can see the number of participants that that participated in each of those events. Allows the district to put a little brief description on there of what the activity was, etc. But again, the cool thing about this is you can export it to Microsoft, or to about any Microsoft product, and or create a PDF to where if you wanted to further refine it, do some cool things with Microsoft Excel, chart to data, whatever your the capabilities are pretty much endless there. We do have some standard reports as well too. So like our employee timesheets, and I don't know if it will allow me to, let me just select a pay period here, go back to last pay period, see if it allows me. I may be logged in here a different way, but that's not going to allow me to show what I want to show. But at any rate, we have some canned reports, if you will, that allow for conservation districts to use them for their timesheets, to give a bi-weekly report, an activity report for each employee showing the work they did over that pay period. We also have one for financial obligations, which essentially gives the board member a view of what the leave balances are for each of their employees and what it would cost them if they had to pay out those leave balances today. We have one for leave balances, and then we have one that is for pollution complaints. Our conservation districts here in Ohio are involved with investigating soil and water related pollution complaints, so they can run a report that will show them the complaint resolution for each individual complaint. So I think I'm out of time here. So
yeah. Wow, Rob. Again, the major thing for me is I want one. We want one in our state, and I bet there are others that want more of what you presented to us. Rob, we did have a couple of questions, and let's just tackle those right now.
Sure.
The first one was, are you willing to share the cost to develop this reporting system?
Yes, and it's I didn't get into the details there, but it's essentially the cost was around $450,000 total to develop the program. That included bringing all the old data from our SWIMS program over into Beehive. As part of this new program, one of our agencies within the Department of Agriculture also is now utilizing Beehive. It's livestock environmental permitting. So part of the overall cost for development required building some components for them as well too. So our soil and water district side of things is maybe just a little bit cheaper, but as we kind of paid for this from the department, you're probably looking at a cost somewhere between $350,000 to $400,000. We do have an annual maintenance schedule, so kind of a 5-year cost. Just our current maintenance schedule, we're allowing around $40,000 annually just to maintain the program, to answer questions, which, by the way, that's probably the other thing that we looked at from an efficiency standpoint. Beehive Industries, the way the company's set up, we can access their experts when there is a problem, and the conservation districts can too. So, we looked at it from our standpoint to where we were hopefully in time. Martin Joyce, who's the program manager, who's probably spending the majority of his time today on working on Beehive, that eventually his time may go down to 50%, 25% on managing a program once everyone gets comfortable.
Right. Wow, what a great investment. Was it difficult to import information from Beehive over to, say, the toolkits of NRCS or Conservation Desktop, or those new tools that NRCS is piloting, or other
Yeah,
agencies?
yeah, it's I think pretty much impossible. Just from that standpoint, and we talked about that early on with when we were actually developing the SWIMS program, and I went down the road of being able to, put to access data in Toolkit and to be able to transfer it over, and we, just because of all the protections with their data, their data being USDA's data, we just couldn't get there. So yeah, so I mean, if you have a conservation district that's mapping a project in Toolkit, ultimately, they have to report it again in Beehive as well too. But how we're set up in Ohio, a lot of the conservation planning work is done by NRCS, as far as the toolkit plans. So, by and large, our districts needed something else, and especially like for urban related work and, various other things to report, they needed a program like this.
Okay. Thanks, Rob. I'm going to keep looking for some questions here that are going to come up. The annual cost, I think you covered about 40,000 roughly.
Yeah, 40,000.
Okay, great. And again, I just want to say how much we've enjoyed this presentation. And again, we really, I want one, for our state. I bet others want one for their state too.